Dauntless Defenders of Good Governance. Join host Fearless Warrior and the Dauntless crew every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Be sure to tune in as we continue our coverage of the PNM internals and interview candidates vying for a seat in the elections. Join us as candidates enter the Dauntless Graph, the Gael Ring of Fire, and face the Bounce Up audience crew. Watch as they run the Dauntless Gauntlet to be judged. Will they get blah, bus head, a big up your whole self, or just a mat? Join us to see who will be the next warriors to dare to face the fire. Come armed with the burning questions you want the candidates to answer. Watch the show live on our Bounce Up Central platform and social media channels, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Keep the conversation going before, during, and even after the show. Chat in real time on our 24-hour live chat on Bounce Up Central at bounceup.com. Bounce Up Central, the community platform that's We Ting, created for we, by we. Bounce Up Central Network. Tune in for shows like Let We Talk to Ting with Sister Jenny every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 5:30 p.m. Dauntless Defenders of Good Governance, Wednesdays at 8 p.m. Culture Points on Thursdays at 8 p.m. and Sundays at 5 p.m. And Fine Point with Fearless Warrior at various showtimes. For more news, informative content, entertainment, special events, discussion forums, Bounce Up Radio, movie watch parties, and to even bust a mark anonymously, visit our Bounce Up Central Community Hub, the platform that's We Ting, created for we, by we. Keep the conversation going, even after the show. Chat in real time on our 24-hour live chat at bounceup.com. If you have a passion for news, politics, culture, music, sports, technology, and helping your community, we invite you to come join the Bounce Up Central Network family. Come join us.
You must prepare for war. You must be ready for battle. It's true. Lego the beast. We the champions. We the champions. We the champions. Just call me Mr. Mashup. Everything I get mash up. When I touch the stage, I make the people put their hands up. Yeah, you know me, camera. That is how we raise up. Like Ratty and say, everybody jump, fuck off. Some people don't rate me, but we don't give up. If you have a hater, let me see your hands them up. And let them fools be talking. My dogs do more than barking. We about that action, we ain't really come to talk. Tell them hush them out. If they really don't know what they're talking about. Overconfidence about they run the round. But I promise you one thing. Anytime you step foot with our we inside this ring, we go be the last one standing. From the time we strike up the band, watch the people them start to jam. We'll be the last one standing. Watch the hand and foot start to swing. Now we mash up everything. Now hey, 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 hey.
David Taitt, candidate for Labor Relations Officer, People's National Movement. Unity, fairness, and dignity in labor. As your candidate for Labor Relations Officer of our great party, the People's National Movement, I am stepping forward to be a strong, principled voice in defense of workers' rights, fairness in representation, and the continued advancement of labor policy grounded in PNM values. The issues that matter. 1. Strengthening worker representation across all sectors. Workers in both public and private sectors face evolving challenges, contract work, automation, and post-pandemic restructuring.
We need a proactive labor relations officer who will ensure P&M policies address the realities facing our people and support trade union partnerships that respect workers' rights while fostering economic growth. 2. Defending fair wages and safe work conditions. As cost of living pressures grow, so must our commitment to equitable compensation and workplace safety. I will push for mechanisms to ensure fair wage negotiations, robust enforcement of safety standards, and support for worker training and upskilling. 3. Modernizing labor engagement within the party. P&M must lead by example. I will advocate for transparent, structured engagement with labor stakeholders within the party's own infrastructure, ensuring that workers' voices are heard and valued at all levels of decision-making. 4. Promoting youth inclusion in labor movements. The future of labor must include our youth. I am committed to building bridges between experienced trade unionists and the next generation of workers by supporting mentorship programs and youth-focused labor education. Why David Taitt? I bring decades of grounded, practical experience as a negotiator, advocate, and P&M loyalist. My record is one of service, not just to workers, but to the principles of equity, justice, and nation building that define the P&M. I believe in unity, dignity in work, and a Trinidad and Tobago where no worker is left behind. Please join me in making labor relations a strategic pillar of party strength and national development. Vote David Taitt for stronger labor, stronger P&M.
Hello.
Yes, good evening, Trinidad and Tobago, and welcome to Dauntless Defenders of Good Governance. And this is the Ring of Fire. Good evening, Mr. David Taitt. Are you ready?
Yes, I am ready.
All right. Nobody might too close to him out because we can hear you on the system. So let's go. So, Mr. Taitt, tell us about yourself because we saw your bio, but you give us a little synopsis or a little summary on David Taitt itself.
Well, good night, everyone. Happy Labor Day tomorrow. My name is David Taitt. I have been a member of this great party since the 20th of July, 1975. I joined this party while I was in secondary school. I was in the Youth League of St. Joseph constituency. The chairman of the constituency was St. Elmo Gopal. And I worked with St. Joseph for a number of years. Then I moved out to Dabadi, Omera, which is Dabadi, Malabar now. I have been involved in labor relations for a great part of my life. I think since 1981. I'm also qualified in labor relations, having a degree and a diploma. My thesis was on John Hackshaw's contribution to labor. John Hackshaw was the first field officer of the People's National Movement. He was a member of P&M. He was a member of the OWTU. And he went up for elections in 1956. Wow. I'm also heavily involved in the credit union movement for a vast number of years. And I have served in different capacities in the credit union movement. In fact, I came back last week from a conference based on leadership. I am here to serve. It's not the first time that I'm going up as the labor relations officer. I went up against Ms. Jennifer Batiste. I have served on the labor relations committee before, and I'm always willing to serve and help my party. Because I believe that labor relations is a strategic pillar of party strength and national development.
So
some people may say that the PNM have not done anything for labor, and some of us are fooled by that mantra. But I would like people to know tonight that 1956, Donald Ganaro, the General Secretary of the Union of Commercial and Industrial Workers, was a candidate. Sam Worrell, the General Secretary of the SWWT, which is Cement Workers Union, was candidate. Clive Payne, the President General of the Communication, Transport and General Workers Union, was also a candidate. Ali Mohammed, former President General of the Sugar Workers Union, and John Hackshaw, member of OWTU. Donald Ganaro, he won. Ali Mohammed went on to become the first mayor of San Fernando, the 22nd of November 1956. But PNM have always stood in the vanguard of workers. PNM brought forward the unit trust, where the simple worker could buy units in a company. The unit trust buy the shares and break it down into units, and the person gets dividend. The concept of the unit trust was by the gentleman named Merv the Swerve. He was the then Minister of Finance. Right? The PNM in 1966 opened the Cipriani College of Labor to educate workers both in labor matters and cooperatives. And in 1970, the Act was proclaimed. We have also brought in national insurance, where workers will get, according to the contributions, they either get a lump sum or they'll get a continuous money every month. Females will get maternity benefits, workers will get injury benefits, and we even took care of you when you died by giving you a death benefit. So the PNM have always been the vanguard of helping workers, right? And not only the workers' children, by our education policy, right? And we saw it fit in 1976 that, listen, we need to take care of these workers' children when they come to school, and the school feeding program was introduced, which is run up to today. So people going about saying that the PNM have never done anything for workers, and the PNM is not as a party, not about workers' interests, is a fallacy. I putting up myself to build on the people who went before me, because our party is a great party. I believe in unity, dignity in work, and a Trinidad and Tobago where no worker is left behind. And my party, I believe, carries that same message in the heart.
But let me ask you this question. Let me jump in here and let's start this ring of fire here. Okay, you know that is the hot seat that you're in, right?
Take your boy. Come with your boy.
Well, tonight is not the chief whip, but tonight is the candidate going up for internal election, and this is where you come in the ring of fire. So let me ask you the question. So, because you give us a little history of the PNM, and that is good that you know the history. You give us a little bio of yourself. Because a lot of people don't know who is David Taitt as David Taitt, but they know David Taitt, the man who has make the noise, who has rumble, who has shake the place, because you see how they with your bullhorn fighting for workers and all different things, even the PSA. Do you believe that? No, not do you believe. As a labor relation officer in the PNM, what will really be the function? What will really be your function in that capacity as a labor relation officer in the People's National Movement?
Well, in terms of reference, is that the committee shall consider all matters affecting labor, including industrial relations, trade unions, and operation of the labor pool. The committee shall consider and advise upon such further matters as may be referred to it from time to time, meeting at least once per month. Right? And we shall prepare a report to the convention at the end of the year. Our role is to advise the party on labor matters. Right? We look at it, examine it, and bring forward our views so that the party, the General Council, can articulate upon it. Because in our party, there are workers. And we need to deal with matters pertaining to them.
Right.
This present government, we have to look at how they treat workers, because the honeymoon will come to an end, and we have to look how they treat workers and stand in the corridor for workers, as we have always did.
But let me ask you this question. Now, Ms. Jennifer Batiste was she's the outgoing labor relation officer of the People's National Movement, correct?
Yes, she is.
How come she has not taken a role in terms of all these workers going home who are members of the People's National Movement, and maybe party card holders also of the People's National Movement? How come we have not heard her come out and make statements in defense of labor? How come she has not made any statement concerning the laying off and all these different things? How come?
Well, I cannot speak for Ms. Jennifer Batiste. I am not in a cranium to find out why she have done this or done that. I can speak for me. And tonight I come to speak for me. I can't speak for Ms. Batiste. I don't know what.
But in your case, boy, so if you are the labor relation officer for the People's National Movement, would you be going out there and trying to fight for these workers who are being retrenched or maybe having these contractual problems with these employers, which is the government at this point in time?
Well, if I am the labor relations officer, the matter will have to be discussed at the labor relations committee. It will have to be forwarded to the general council. I cannot go out there on a one-man crusade. I belong to a party, and I will put forward, and if the leadership of the party decides that I am the person to go out and speak, I will go out and speak. Or if the leadership feel that she wants to speak on the matter, so be it. But I cannot go out there on my own and just do what I want, because I belong to a party, a rally of people, a convention. Despite I am going up as an independent, after the 29th, I am no longer independent. I belong to the executive of the party and have to conduct myself according to the rules and regulations of my party.
But if it is that you are elected, David, and let me say you are the only person that, because you went up on an independent slate, and you are the only person outside of the so-called team or slate that are going up. How are you going to deal with that scenario, and how are you going to work? Would you be able to work along with them?
Well, I will tell you, at the end of the convention, we are one team PNM, the PNM party. I have to work with them. Even if I am defeated, I belong to the party. It's a one party. And I will be able to work with anybody, because it is about putting ideas to the table, right? It is not about getting the UNC out of power. It is getting the people to fall in love with the PNM once again. Those people outside there who for some reason felt that on the 28th they had something more important to do than to cast a vote, we have to make them fall in love with the PNM once again.
Now, as the labor relations officer, now normally you don't hear the workers inside. Well, you know, PSA had workers working with them, and they had to take them to the industrial court and fight the industrial court matter in the industrial court in order to get back pay and reinstatement and all these different things. And that was at PSA level. How come you don't hear the workers at Balize House asking for razor pay and back pay? How come you don't hear that?
Because the PNM operates and efficiently, respectfully, so we don't have to reach to that thing. We do give our workers raise of pay. We do give our workers back pay when it is due. But the PNM business do not roll down in the side drains of Tranquility Street.
But who then represents the workers of Balize House? Who then represents them? There must be a trade union that will represent them.
No, there's no trade union.
Oh, they don't have a trade union that represents them?
No, we don't have a trade union. But I don't say that they are not taken care of in a manner properly.
Okay. No, you see, people
If
will want to know. People will want
if
to know these things now.
now if workers feel that for some reason they are not getting the just due in a place of employment, they tend to seek a trade union. They join a trade union and then they apply for recognition in the workplace and everything. But if our workers are people of satisfaction, they don't have to go to a trade union. Not every workplace in Trinidad has a trade union.
Okay. No, first I'm knowing about it because you see, a lot of people may not know the operations and what really happens, really and truly. And knowing that you are into labor and you're going up for labor relations and you are part of the committee, one would want to know the intricates and the insights of what happens and what is the main role and function. So we know that, you told us about that early on. When you make these recommendations to General Council, and let me say a trade union outside begging, let me say, like, okay, you have these trade unions calling for razor pay or asking for negotiations to start. Does the industrial relation officer in the People's National Movement, does the committee have dialogue with the minister or the different respective ministers who may fall under that purview and assist them in how to proceed with negotiations?
Well, negotiations is conducted by the CPU, right? We cannot get involved with the CPU being a labor relations of a political party. Despite our party may be in power, we can't get involved with the CPU, right? But what we do is that matters pertaining to labor and workers and things, we bring it to the General Council. And the General Council will articulate upon it. We would bring after a year, we'd bring our report to the convention where the delegates could stand up and talk on our report, articulate their views on labor. But in terms of getting involved in the negotiation, let us say with the PSA or tutor, we can't get involved because we are just outside. We can't go into the CPU and tell the CPU anything. The CPU is the chief negotiating person that deals with the unions.
Right, but the minister could intervene at some point in time, not so? If the negotiations fail and all different things, they don't go by the minister at some point in time. So that's why I'm asking if you all don't,
well,
in terms of helping the minister in terms of that type of negotiations.
Well, if there's a matter pertaining to labor relations, pertaining to something in the national domain, we can bring it up for articulation in the General Council. The General Council may agree, and after the agreement, they take a decision is taken. The minister is then mandated by the General Council through things that listen, let us use this approach or that approach, and it is the General Secretary now who would carry it further. Our job stops when we bring the matter to the when the labor relations officer brings the matter to the general council, or it may come up in the executive of the party, and we speak on a matter in the executive of the party. But the labor relations officer job is to watch the labor climate of the country and speak about things maybe at general council or at the executive level.
Can you give us an example? Because I'm trying to get the sense of what really is a whole need for a labor relations of department in the executive. Could you give us at least example or two examples of what type of labor relations matter you all may have brought forth to general council at any point in time?
Well, the labor relations committee, at one time when I sat there, we had a visit to the Minister of Labor to discuss matters upon labor, right? And we can look at things, ask for an audience with the Minister of Labor, and bring certain matters pertaining to labor. You may find, well, we may feel, well, there might be a particular act that may need some sort of amendment, and in our view, we put forward our view, right? But the whole question is to see about workers' satisfaction. Workers' satisfaction. We don't sweep workers' matters below the carpet. Now, I mean, a substantial raise in pay will be determined by the money that you're having, right? But there are other things that one could look at. We may say, well, why don't we raise from 7,500? Why do we look at kind of 8,000 or 8,005? So there are more workers now who will get a tax break, and they will go home with more money. Because you could increase a person's disposable income by reducing the tax that they have to pay.
Right.
And we can put forward suggestions. We can look at labor matter laws and feel that they may need to be reviewed, and ask the party that through they could review these laws. Right? We look at certain things. For instance, presently the industrial court, which was designed for the common trade unionists to come to the court and speak on behalf of the workers, it has now become a legalistic court with lawyers coming to the court. And we have to look at that, see where it's heading, see what the future may bring with that. Is the union relevant? Or do we have a situation whereby a worker just go by a lawyer? All these things you have to look at, because industrial relations is a revolving thing. It is not static. And we have to look at these things, look at how the worker could save more. And so we look at terms of the cooperative movement. We may want to advocate that the $50,000 cap beneficiary be reviewed, so that if a person dies, the beneficiary could get what they have, because presently up to $50,000 you could get. After that is letters of administration. We could bring that forward to the party, let the party relook at it, put it in the policy for the upcoming election. Things that will satisfy workers. We look at the OSHA Act. The OSHA Act at it presently does not cover work at home. If you're working at home and you fall down, you get compensated. If the chair you're working at home break, do you compensate me? There are a lot of things that has to be looked at, especially where this work at home is concerned. And that is where the Labor Relations Committee will sit down and talk to stakeholders and then put forward position papers on this whole question of the worker.
So you all basically help to shape policy for the party that could end up becoming national policy then.
Yes, because when we put things forward to the party and it is accepted and thing, it may end up in the manifesto of 2030 or before, and put forward to the workers in general, right? We may look at the budget, examine it, and perhaps put forward ideas and think towards the speakers in the House where the budget is concerned, if the budget is affecting workers, if the budget is draconian, right? We may ask the question hypothetically. You say you're going and pay 10% or more, but why are you paying it in bonds? These questions could be asked.
Question.
Are you?
And this is a question from the audience. What, if any, missteps do you think has been made with regards to labor relations outreach with the party? That's one. And two, what would you change or do differently that what is being done now in this rule? You want me to read it again for you?
Well, yeah, if you wish to.
All right. So there's two questions here. What, if any, missteps do you think has been made with regards to labor relations outreach with the party? That's one. And two, what would you change or do differently that what is being done now in this rule?
Well, one of the missteps, I would say, if we want to call it a misstep, is that we did not sell to the working class the situation whereby we offering a certain quantum of percentage increase. We did not sell it in a proper manner because we could have offered the 4%, but also add into that non-financial benefits that the worker would have feel satisfied. And if I am wrong in the next time, we try to create a love with the working class. And in order to create such a love with the working class, the party needs to communicate to its members on a continuous basis on national matters that come forward. And I am saying that each and every member of the party is a voice of the party. And if the government, our government, the PNM in power, matters such as labor, whatever that was on the front burner, it needed to be reached down into the party groups. So it have a discussion so that the party group members would understand why the government is taking such a position, what is what, so that the members could carry that same message back home, and they could even articulate their point of view, which we can carry back upstairs to the party. There need to be a broadening of communication between the members, because our members are workers. A broadening of communication between our members. Let us hear what our members have to say on particular matters. Why can't we call a special convention to discuss a labor policy or a labor? Call us, we could discuss it, throw it out, let the membership speak, let the party groups discuss it and come.
Okay, so any other questions? Ms. Alter, you are asking here, what other benefits? I don't understand what you're asking, but how can the government give in a year if it do have? Well, he can't speak to that in terms of government giving what it do have. They can't speak to that.
May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Since you have been around, do the party groups invite the labor relations officer to come and speak to them? Party groups would normally, since you have been around, have party groups, which is the foundation of our party, invited the labor relations officer to speak to them. Normally, party groups invite some minister or something, but the labor relations officer, a lot of people in the party don't really, they don't even know if it exists. And if the party groups invite people like the labor relations officer to come to them, speak to them. We work with the education officer where we can educate people on matters of labor, matters of industrial relations. When our opponents get up and speak things, we would not be convinced that the PLM don't do nothing for we.
Okay. So you have it here, and anybody want to ask any other questions to the labor, the income, well, the person who is offering themselves, okay. COS or COS is asking a question here. You are going up for an independent. You are going up as an independent. If you win against the opposition leader, one people slate, how do you plan on getting your policy input to the leadership? Give an example of how you may overcome this.
When I win on Sunday the 29th, we leave the savannah or wherever the convention is being held as one party.
Right.
I see each and every one as a total team. We are one. I will put forward, after discussion with the Labor Relations Committee, matters that may we bring to them. Once a month we have meetings. The members of the Labor Relations Committee, one person from the Youth League, one person from the Women's League, and the other people, 8 people, is appointed by the General Council. There's a vice chairman which will be appointed and a secretary. We will discuss matters and put matters before that need to be put before. And I will tell you, banging down a door sometimes don't get you through. But being very articulate, direct, be able to convince other people that you and your committee have something that is relevant, making good sense. I am not going there to fight with people. I'm not a fighter. I am going there to put forward the views after being articulated by the committee to the executive, to the general council, and people will realize over time that this person knows what they're doing and will sit back and listen. We have to get the youth of the party involved in labor. So we need to speak with the Youth League. And when I am elected, I intend to visit, where it's possible, every party group, speak with the members on matters of labor and things. Speak with the members, get the members' feedback, put this before the committee on certain matters. So when we go forward, the people who coming out on the general council will already know that we came down into the party groups and everything, to the constituencies, and we spoke with them. This is a job, a labor of love. It's hard work. Very hard work.
So let me ask you this question. Is this job, is labor relations within the party a paying job? Do you get a stipend or pay?
No. It's a voluntary thing. I put it up myself not because I want any remuneration. I put it up myself because just as the last time, I want to help my party rebuild, re-strengthen, and be there for the next election. My job as a member of the PNM is to make sure that people see the PNM as being relevant.
And how long is your position valid for after the internal election? How long will it be? 2 years, 4 years?
No, we are 2 years.
2 years, a 2 year term.
But
so
there's
nobody.
But your actions and your performance will then determine if you will go beyond the 2.
So what about continuancy? There's nobody. So the person holding the substantive post, which is the person who was elected outside of the committee, is the committee disbanded after that when they have an election, and also the person who is going up vying for the position?
Well, at the end of the convention, the person who held the position no longer holds that position because somebody new has been elected.
Right.
The general council will then have to get in caucus and select the people for the committees. So at the end of the convention, the committee comes to an end basically, because at the convention coming up here, the Labor Relations Committee and the Labor will be tabling a report,
right,
which the delegates can ask questions and what, and I beg to move. After that, that is the end of the committee.
So there's no so when your committee is disbanded, there's nobody to carry on the work after you leave, and general council then has the authority to pick who may work with you.
Well, the general council will meet within a week or 2 weeks and put in the committees. When you walk out of the convention on the 29th, you will be the labor relations officer. And then they will put in the members. The National Youth League will submit someone. The Women's League will submit someone. The quorum is 5. You meet once a month. Right? And we go on from there. We have 24 months in which to do our work and submit a report to the convention again.
Okay.
But I am saying, once I am the labor relations officer, I would make sure that the Labor Relations Committee is known to the party groups, because I have watched campaigns for offices in the party, and people don't even really call the name Labor Relations Officer. They may call chairman, secretary, vice chairman, but people don't really mention labor relations officer. They may mention this social media officer thing, but they hardly call labor relations. And we have to make sure that the labor relations committee, labor relations, is known throughout the party. There are trade unionists in our party, you know. There are trade unionists in our party, you know.
Yes.
So why can't we? So why can't we go to the party group or the constituency and have discussion with them? We want to bring all ideas upon deck.
Right. So let's take it to the people So people, I know they were busy chatting. So let's give Mr. David Taitt his rankings. So he is better we getting him some boa, be giving him the go ahead, or what you tell me. Apparently like they're sleeping on the walk. People, all right. Well, it looks as though, yes, you are deemed competent. Yes, you are deemed competent. People are saying, and so they are taking you. You are really you are really knowledgeable of what you're saying. So, and people are giving you thumbs up. So, final words, Mr. David Taitt.
Yes, people, I am saying to you, if I am not elected, I would like the party to place me on the Labor Relations Committee, whereby I can support the person who has been elected and bring ideas to the table. This committee must no longer be a committee that people hardly know. This committee must be one of the committees and one of the offices that is high profile. And you become high profile by your performance.
If so, well, we want to thank you, Mr. David Taitt. We do have another interview that is lined up, and because tonight would have been hot, and tomorrow is going to be hotter, and on Friday it is going to be extremely hot. So we do want to thank you for coming on and being a part of the Ring of Fire. Yeah, in his corner, he can have my vote. So people are right. So people are saying, yes, you are well knowledgeable and you have the experience. And we want to thank you for coming in, Mr. David Taitt, and being a part of the Ring of Fire. So we take a quick break. And we will show you some of the candidates who are going to be vying, and we will see some of their bios, and we are putting together all the bios basically as fast as possible. Who wants to get their bio put together, and we're gonna place it out there for people to see them and get accustomed to seeing them, so that we can be able to make you get an informed choice on who you want to vote for on this Sunday. Now, we do have a little change. No, I ain't spend no birthday. I ain't spend no birthday in Laventille. No, I didn't spend my birthday in Laventille. I spent my birthday on work. And then I'm still working. So, strange things, eh? Today is still work and more work. But that's how it goes. So we do take a little quick break, and we will be right back with our next guest, who is lining up. So, and we do apologize that Mr. Sean Duby will not be on tonight. Mr. Sean Duby will not be on tonight. So, but we have made arrangement for him to come on another night. So we are going to be running, and this lady is going to be with us tonight.
Fighting demons, some things are small. Nothing you do can stop me. So go with your heavy vibe. Move them things from around me. More than turn off the taught me well. How to pray and to break the spell. I well got in my spirit grounded. From the lights all over my head. Make way, make way, make way, make way. I got work to do. Plenty work to do. Make way, make way, make way, make way. I got work to do, plenty work to do. So you could put my name in a crap about. Them things so it now walking in a police some way in sound. Them things so it now walking in a place by a roundabout. Them things so it now walking, see my name in a gold belly. Them things so it now walking on me. No, 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 no. It now walking on me. I'm mounted by Papa Niza, so your jiggy can penetrate. I bless and I just don't fear. I could make your me disappear. With my shashere in my hand, any devil come I withstand. Cause my spirit ready to soar. If you play man and walk through me, yo, make way, make way, make way, make way. I got work to do, plenty work to do. Make way, make way, make way, make way. I got work to do, plenty work to do. You could time and name in a countdown. Them things so we now walking. I go still come and sing me song. Them things so we now walking. So you put brave dust on my shoes. Them things so we now walking. That's why the day you get you go lose. Them things so we now walking on me. No, 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 no. It now walking on me. No, 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 no,
Dauntless Defenders of Good Governance. Join host Fearless Warrior and the Dauntless crew every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Be sure to tune in as we continue our coverage of the PNM internals and interview candidates vying for a seat in the elections. Join us as candidates enter the Dauntless Graph, the Gael Ring of Fire, and face the Bounce Up audience crew. Watch as they run the Dauntless Gauntlet to be judged. Will they get blah? Bus head, a big up your whole self, or just a map? Join us to see who will be the next warriors to dare to face the fire. Come armed with the burning questions you want the candidates to answer. Watch the show live on our Bounce Up Central platform and social media channels, YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Keep the conversation going before, during, and even after the show. Chat in real time on our 24-hour live chat on Bounce Up Central at bounceup.com. Bounce Up Central, the community platform that's we ting, created for we, by we.
because I'm begging the master. Give me a walk with Peter. If I come, sinners coming.
Blazing. Yes, I don't know nothing about what? No, Kamala ain't show me nothing. I don't know what you're talking about now. Hey, good evening to Miss Malika Blair. I think I have it correct.
Yes, you're very correct. Good evening.
Good evening, and welcome to the Ring of Fire on Bounce Up Central Media Network. This is where we get into the interview, and let me tell you, I was happy to see you down in Moruga on Tuesday. It was Tuesday, no,
Yes, it was
Monday,
Tuesday.
Monday,
Yes,
and
Monday.
Tuesday evening. Oh well,
Monday. It was on Monday.
I thought I was gonna have
Monday.
yeah. Well, I'm saying like I turning the clock too fast, but and it was good to see that all the independent candidates have realized that hey, you all need to come together and actually and work together to actually get your message and your voice out there. And if you work as a team, even though it's not a team, but you're going to have independence, it will be better in your favor. So I am glad that you have agreed to come on tonight. So let's start this interview and let's get the hot seat going. The days are becoming a blur. So, Miss Malika, tell us, why are you vying for this position?
Thank you very
And
much, fellas.
what position you're going for?
Okay, thank you very much, fellas warrior. And let me say pleasant good evening to all your listeners in the Gael. As you've indicated, as you've introduced me, I am Malika Blair and I'm vying for the position of Assistant General Secretary of the People's National Movement. Upon reflecting on the political health of our party at this juncture, I have decided to heed the clarion call that was issued by our dear political leader-elect, Mrs. Penelope Beckles Robinson, when she visited the Claxton Bay constituency, of which I am a member, on Thursday, the 29th of May. She issued a call for all those members who believe that they have a valued contribution to make to the party at this time as we go through this very difficult process, because we are in opposition and it's not, being in opposition is not a glamorous thing, to step out and contribute to the rebuilding process. And I believe that I have a proven track record of service to my party, having been a member for some 27 odd years, and having served myself as a local government representative, having served as the youngest deputy mayor of the city of San Fernando, having served my community in various sporting and cultural organizations, that I have a very valuable contribution to make, as do so many others in our party. But during this time, it takes people who are really committed, dedicated, and willing to dig in the trenches to restore and reclaim the trust of its members and take our party forward. I believe that I can best serve in the position of Assistant General Secretary, giving that much needed assistance to the General Secretary and by extension, all party officers as we execute the new vision of our dear political leader, history in the making, as she is the first female political leader elect of our party and by extension, first female opposition leader. represented by the People's National Movement, of course. And more than that, as someone who has been deeply rooted in her community, always interacting with the grassroots, I believe that if we are truly honest, that this is a clear sentiment being echoed by party members throughout the length and breadth of our country, that connection has been absent for quite some time. And I believe that through my role, not merely looking at it as an administrative one, but a critical connector to the membership of the party as we disseminate our information from the party's perspective. We need to connect with our roots. We need to allow members' voices to not only be heard and felt, but to be acted upon. And as the main engine room of the party, as it were, it is incumbent upon the officers who hold this position discharge of their duties with the highest level of integrity, trust, transparency, and accountability. And for these reasons, I believe that I am the best woman for the job.
Let me ask you this question. Being that you were the youngest mayor of San Fernando and you worked under two mayors, basically, because I would have listened to you down in Moruga, and I said to myself, but how come you not on this so-called political leader slate? How come? And you have served the party at that high level. You are intelligent, you know what you're about. How come you were not called to serve by the political leader to be part of a quote-unquote team?
Well, I'll tell you something. That is not a question that I can answer. But I'll say this, because as party members, sometimes we believe that we must be called upon to do something. And as I've indicated throughout my presentations to several constituencies, for the past 10 years, I really adopted a mentorship role for younger persons in the party, younger, fresh, new local government representatives, because I believe I possess a wealth of experience. I was even honored to be to serve as the campaign manager for the councillor for Koke Taruba in the last local government election, a seat that was closely contested. And were we not victorious, the People's National Movement would not have held on to the corporations in Trinidad. And by extension, we would not have been able to return, regain our prowess in the city of San Fernando. So, as a member with a wealth of experience, and there are so many others like me who choose to serve in the background, it is really incumbent upon us to really stand up, step out, put our shoulders to the wheel and show our mettle, and allow the membership to judge us based on our merit as we present ourselves and offer ourselves for service. And interestingly, it really nudged me when that clarion call was made by our leader. I said, a lot of people are hurting and expressing their hurt because it's a very difficult period for a lot of us as members of the party. Being in opposition is not glamorous. But instead of sitting in the back and on the sidelines and criticizing what has happened, though I believe that we must examine scientifically the reasons why we are in this position, it is incumbent upon those of us who are brave enough and willing to dig into the trenches to let ourselves be known to the rest of the membership of the party and be that beacon of hope and allow the leadership to notice us so that we ourselves can serve at the next level in the party. The PNM, we possess a wealth of talent and expertise in our party. And I'm not only merely talking about in academia, because I can tell you that academics and the fancy titles and letters alone will not make you successful if you don't know how to treat with the common man on the ground, if you are not able to articulate their grievances at that level, if you are not able to speak the language of the youth. And we are in a period where we have to attract back into our fold the some 100,000 odd persons who chose to withhold their vote. Now, I am very encouraged by that because it means that they have not left the party, but they chose to express their disapproval in a very telling way. And it is critical in these internal elections that we elect persons who will reflect a fresh and new mandate. Because it simply cannot be business as usual. We cannot simply recycle and repackage the old and slap on a new slogan and tell us that, hey, this is fresh and new. There are reasons, many reasons why we are in this position, and we must face the hard truths. So I am saying that personally, I have decided to count myself in very proudly as one of the 51 candidates who have offered themselves to serve. And I am presenting myself to you to critically examine me and others and make that choice. Because we represent the future of the party. We are on the cusp of celebrating 70 years of existence. We have a very rich legacy. And I can tell you that if we only return to the tenets of this great constitution that we possess in our party, one of the richest documents that we possess in the Caribbean, I dare say, we will be on the road to reclaiming our party, restoring our party, and ensuring that we return to government on or before 2030.
How many persons are going up for the position of Assistant General Secretary?
For this position, there are only two persons, the incumbent, Mrs. Patricia Alexis, and myself.
So let me ask you this question. Would you be able to work with persons who did not or may have fallen down on the job in terms of what we call the field in certain departments? Would you be willing to work with those persons? Or would you call on the leader to make the changes and say, hey, you know what? I don't think this person is competent to continue the mandate. Would you be able to do that?
Listen, at the end of the day, yes, we are in the process of an internal election. But at the end of the day, we are one party. And our members possess various strengths and weaknesses. And as members of a party, of an institution, of an organization, it is incumbent upon us to have teamwork and unity. And me offering myself for service is not a demonstration of not acknowledging the successes of the past. But as we transform, we must physically demonstrate that and recognize that there must be a passing of the baton. Because we all are standing on the shoulders of those who came before us. Our founding fathers and mothers, the late great Dr. Eric Williams. So it is not to erode what has transpired in the past, but it's to build upon it and move forward. And let us face the facts. I didn't say it, but our dear political leader-elect did confess that many officers fell down on the job for one reason or another. Now, there is something called institutional strengthening. Now, if we are really serious about rebuilding the party, we have to draw in on the successes of the past. We have to critically analyze what did not work. And in saying so and in analyzing this, I would be more than willing to work with anybody who is really serious and committed to the task of rebuilding the party, of standing on the principles, aims, and objectives as outlined in our constitution. We cannot allow ourselves to move forward with old baggage. We must face that reality. And if there are those among us who cannot share in that vision, well, then I dare say that it will not be healthy for us to encourage that type of behavior that is at variance with where the party needs to go. So I'm saying that in all my life of service, it has been about teamwork. It has been about networking. It has been about drawing on the strengths of our very diverse existence. But if in fact your goals and objectives are at variance to that common vision, then that cannot be tolerated.
Well, but if I must agree with one of the persons on the chat room, and really actually you're good. I like how you're being politically correct in certain things. You don't want to, because you don't probably don't want talks and ways, but you are right. If the political leader did say some of them fell down on the job, then but let me get to the questions. Let me get to the questions what people are asking. So this question is: some members have lamented that party groups, the way they are structured, now have become obsolete and disconnected. Right, they have become obsolete and disconnected. What ideas do you have about improving the way party groups operate currently? So let me read it over again. Let me read it over because apparently I made a little mistake in one word that they tried to put in here. So some members have lamented that party groups, the way they are structured, now have become obsolete and disconnected. What ideas do you have about improving the way party groups operate currently?
Okay, very good question. Now, the party group is the foundation of our party. And who or what is the party group? The party group comprises of you and me. It's foot soldiers, it's members within the particular polling divisions of your constituency. So the party group, while some may use the term loosely, and we may say, well, who is this or what is this elusive group? It is the foundation of our party, and we must examine the organizational structure of the party. Now, I do not, as party members, one cannot deny that at times we have party groups that exist just on paper. And I remember a time way back when, not so long ago, when I first started my active participation in the party, some 25 years ago, that the party groups were very vibrant, that you, from time to time, you would have members of the national executive visiting party groups, that community events would have been arranged and operated by the party groups. Now, I do not think that party groups have become obsolete, but in some ways, some members have found that we simply just create party groups for the purpose of electing a particular executive of a constituency. And we must move away to that. And this is why I say we must go back to our moorings, in that from the party group, and it's very important and instructive in terms of how our party is set up. The structure is very robust. But I think what is happening now, we need to find new ways of connecting with persons in our communities. We have to, in our meetings, must not be about the reading of the minutes, must not only be about the strict formula of an agenda in a meeting. We can make it fun. You can play games, you can make it educational. And by this, we would need all hands on deck. And by that, I mean, we really need party officers, those who have been elected in the various positions, elections officer, field officer, and I'm talking about not just at the national level, but at the constituency level, that you really have persons performing their duties in their various roles. Because this is not a one-man or a one-woman show. So if you have, you generate community interest by the activities of the party group, then you would find that members of a community will say, hey, this group is doing something positive here. I would like to align myself or realign myself to this entity. But what we have found within recent times, that party groups simply have not been functioning for one reason or another. Separate and apart from the national executive, in many instances, the executive and the constituencies were far removed from the party groups. And so it is not surprising that we had this breakdown in our party, and hence one of the reasons why we have found ourselves in this position, because we went into a battle with very little foot soldiers, right? Party groups. So I want to suggest, and it's very simple, we go back to our basics. We have to go back to, and it doesn't have to be fancy. Yes, we live in a new age and we are modernizing the way we do business, but nothing can beat that one-on-one interaction, that one-to-one interaction. People must feel connected once again as you outline your aims and goals. We must get buy-in to our aims and objectives once again. And that is one of the reasons why I, as a young woman, I joined the party, because I believed in the ideologies set out by our founding fathers and mothers. So I'm saying that it is not that we have to get too scientific about it. It is going back to our basic moorings, of being creative in our communities. And this is the true purpose of our party group, the foundation of the party, creating spaces where we can encourage a skill bank. We have sporting activities, and these programs will lend itself to a regrouping of our members, and hopefully this can reverberate throughout the country and we can find our way back on track.
Well, let me give you the next question one time because they're coming in back to back here. Question, because we have some questions, trust me. And I'm glad that you all did it in Moruga, and I realized that in Tobago that they had question and answer all of a sudden on the other fleet. So they have introduced that now. Oh, she got cut off. Okay. Probably somebody must be called her phone. But this is the way you get it right here. And let me tell you something. Imagine they can't talk politics these days because there's so much to talk about. We just waiting on Miss Blair to come back in. Let's wait on Miss Blair. So let's take a little break and all right, so she is back. All right, so she is back. Let me just bring her on stage.
I'm sorry about that. Something happened tonight.
Yeah, no problem. It is happening. Trust me. In technology, it does happen, and that's why this question here is: we hear a lot about the ground, yet for some, this ground is an elusive creature. How would you describe the ground? And do you think it needs to be redefined? Let me read it again. We hear a lot about the ground. So you're hearing a lot about the ground. Yet, for some, this ground is an elusive creature. How would you describe the ground? And do you think it needs to be redefined?
Well, I believe I would have addressed that in my previous response. And I don't believe that it is an elusive entity. What probably has happened is that we have probably moved away from focus on the ground. The ground is people like you and me, the common members of the party. The ground is what makes the party. And we must not see ourselves as separate and apart from the executive or the leadership of the party. And I personally, I have a different view where that is concerned because I understand what servant leadership is. So I do not see myself as a ground member as separate and apart from maybe the liberations officer, the general secretary. Because yes, organizations have a structure, but I am a valued member, and without me, there is no organization. And I believe as members, we must share in the responsibility of upholding the party and keeping people accountable as they discharge their duties. What was the second part of so that in essence, there isn't a separation between the ground and the executive of the party. It's simply a question of us going through the democratic process and examining each candidate on their own merit and simply electing these persons who have offered themselves to serve on the leadership of the party. As any thriving and successful organization, there must be an organizational structure. But I guess because over the last period, we have experienced that disconnect that many believe that the ground is an elusive group. Oh, the ground is us. The ground is you. The ground is me. The common member of the party that make this party as strong as it is. What was it? There was a second part to the question.
All right. Well, it was asking, do you think that the role should be redefined?
I don't think that the role should be redefined per se, but we need to find more creative and innovative ways in the way we do things. We are in the year 2025. What may have worked in 1956 certainly may not be applicable or work for our time. We are in a different era. And as the person who asked the question, with the introduction of technology, in my interaction with young people, some of them express the view that, it looks boring. They may not just want to come to a meeting to approve minutes. The fact is, we really do have to change the way we do things. And as a couple of things I've mentioned before, this can be done through organizing community events. One of the other candidates who is vying for the position of education officer was suggesting that, you can come up with innovative games through which our members can be educated on the rich legacy of our party's history. Family Feud. You can organize Scrabble the PNM way. So I believe that we do not have to go so far out of the box, but indeed our systems need to be modernized to keep up with the times. And I can say in particular, in my role as Assistant General Secretary, as a key part of the Secretariat of the movement, our systems have to be digitized and modernized. We can boast about our new headquarters, which I believe must be commended and something that should be celebrated and we all should be proud of. But that is the physical structure. What about the systems that are needed to ensure that how we do business is efficient with our members? We ought to be at a time where we should be able to access our membership list online. We should simplify the process and make it easy just by at your fingertips to become a member of the party. We have to do this if we are to modernize and move forward. We are in the 21st century, but I'm also saying that there are traditions that we can preserve. We only need to reconnect with each other, really go down to basics in terms of seeing what our role is in our communities so that it becomes second nature. And this is how my presence in politics started. I was not focused on being a local government representative, but it came quite natural to me because I was already involved in my community through culture as a member of a steel band movement. Even I was very much involved in athletics in my younger days. So I have this sense of community and and the willingness to improve my community. So service becomes natural, nation building becomes natural. And when we expose our young people and include the elders, because there are many of them who possess that wealth of experience and knowledge, and this is something that in the party we must do more of. We find that in our constituencies, we're ready to remove the older heads, but they possess some of the real values that we need to go back to. So it is really honoring the past while bridging the gap with the new in order to take our party forward, and attract again the persons who would have found themselves disillusioned and despondent at this time. It really takes going back to basics.
And let me do this. Well, you basically answer I don't know, like you must be seeing some of the questions in the chat room. So you're answering them one after the other. So let me do this follow-up question here, because we have some. Oh God, like something happened just now there again, and so.
Hearing me?
Right.
We're back on track.
So we back on track. So let's go. So we have limited time. So let's go now. Question. You mentioned you are involved in mentorship. Your role would be involved in the process of candidate nominations. How will you use your mentorship skills / training to groom the best for 2030? Let me read it again. You mentioned you are involved in mentorship. Your role would be involved in the process of candidate nominations. How will you use your mentorship skills / training to groom the best for 2030?
Okay, so we're talking in terms of the next general election, but there are two elections
before that.
Yeah, so we are right on the cusp of the THA elections, and perhaps an early local government election, but in any event, it will be before 2030. Now, I am not here to just speak empty rhetoric. There is a process within the party by which candidates are selected. Of course, at the constituency level, and by extension, once the approval is given at that level, they face the screening committee, the leadership of the party. Now, what I can tell you in my community of Marabella, and I operate via the Pointe-a-Pierre constituency, now known as the Claxton Bay constituency, there's a team in terms of, even now we are engaging in that process of us trying to identify persons with that leadership capabilities, persons who are known in the community. So I don't think it's not a role for just one individual, but of course, the potential candidates as such, they have to want to enter into this arena of politics, because what I do as a young woman, I would have had peculiar experiences, and we cannot bury our heads in the sand. Politics is not for the faint-hearted. And I like to draw on my own personal experience as to how one can navigate through the process, because it's a very demanding job. It can be demanding on your family, your personal life, etc. So I'm saying that training must be done, of course, in public speaking. You must be able to articulate the grievances and the views of the burgesses or citizens that you represent. You must understand some level of diplomacy, even at a minor level in terms of, the protocol. But more than that, which is most fundamental, is that you must have that willingness and passion to serve. For without that, um, that is the foundation and the basic. We can talk about the niceties, but it must begin with your burning desire to represent and to serve your community. It is a thankless job, but it's one that is important in terms of the structure of our society and how we do business, how we deliver the goods and services to our communities. So, having accepted that you are willing to serve your community and so on, all the other things come into play, and it's simply a process of tapping into those who have served before and those who may be serving, and imparting the knowledge from our perspective while combining some of the new issues that representatives of today may face.
Question. And there are about four more questions basically. Do you think that the executive was connected to the general membership? And who was in charge? And who was in charge in the executive disconnect from the ground? Let me read it again. Do you think that the executive was disconnected to the general membership? And who was in charge in the executive disconnect from the ground?
You're already putting me on the hot seat. Well, let me say this. Yeah, we have our party structure. The
Right.
the general council is comprised of representatives from all 41 constituencies. And it is really the job of our representatives on general council to represent the views presented to the constituency from the party group. So it goes to the constituency executive, to our general council representatives, and then to the leadership of the party as that general council body. As we are in the season of facing our hard truths, while at present I am not a member of the general council, so I cannot directly speak to what transpires or what transpired in general council within the recent past, but I must say that this is a sentiment that has been echoed throughout, that for some time members felt that their views were not being listened to. They felt that they were not being heard. And I don't think that any one person in the executive would be responsible for that wholly and solely. There's something called collective responsibility, because I can tell you, in meetings, we have to, as the leadership, you have to create that space where members feel that they are free to speak and that their views will be felt, heard, and acted upon. And many persons have expressed the view that they came to General Council and made presentations about the health of their particular constituencies, and it fell on deaf ears. Now, it's not for me to say that any one individual or group of persons were directly responsible. Hello, are we there? Are we still here? Hello? For some reason, I'm not seeing.
Right.
Okay.
I,
Okay.
I do apologize for that.
Oh, that's quite okay. So I was saying that it's not for me to say or to call out any one individual or group of individuals, but I'll say this. I am not in the business of perpetrating the division in the party. I don't believe that it is healthy. While I understand and I respect and I will encourage that we must have free and frank discussions about what has transpired, I don't believe that we should be dwelling on the blame game. Yes, we understand that, and members have been saying that their voices have not been heard. I cannot identify any one person who may have been responsible for not listening. As a party, we have to face the fact that along the way, some mistakes were made, and we have to learn from them. For in the absence of that, we are doomed to repeat the same mistakes. And sure, go ahead.
Question. Somebody's asking, what was the General Secretary doing all the time?
Well, that is a question for the General Secretary to answer. I cannot answer for him, but I can say that this is the importance of looking at the candidates who are offering themselves for election this upcoming Sunday. For the General Secretary is like the CEO of the party, and his core role and function is to ensure that the various arms of the party is working like a well-oiled machine. Political organizations exist to win elections and to form the government. And if as CEO of that organization, your various units and arms are not working properly, then it is a reflection on your stewardship. And at this juncture, where we see a number of incumbents have offered themselves for re-election, we, the membership, have to make the choice if we are willing and happy with the trajectory upon which the party has been going, or do we believe that a fresh mandate with new competent individuals are needed to restore and rebuild, and not just have the old with a new brand and slogan claiming to be the new? If we do not learn from what has transpired, I dare say that we may find ourselves repeating some of the same mistakes of the past.
Question. What do you think of the narrative that the PNM is a party for one demographic, a Black people party?
I do not subscribe to that view, because one of the principles and tenets of the party is interracial solidarity. And we live in a cosmopolitan country, and I dare say that one cannot deny that from its inception, all races found a place in the People's National Movement. And I think that is a narrative that should be discouraged, because we cannot in one breath boast of being a diverse country, rich in culture, cosmopolitan nation, and a party by extension where all races find a space and then push this agenda of race. That is very, very dangerous. And the result of that can only lead to division. And sometimes we may, by adopting that approach, we may be losing out on some of the talents of our people who want to be a part of our party. So I personally do not subscribe to that. And the record will show that from our party's inception, we had members of the both major races being at the foundation of the party. So I do not subscribe to that view, and it is a narrative that I don't encourage.
Let me ask you the final question here. Do you think that the loss and trauma in the last general election was a deliberate, own goal negligence?
A deliberate?
Let me read it again. Do you think that the loss and trauma in the last general elections was a deliberate own goal?
A deliberate own goal.
Negligence.
Listen, as a party, we need to scientifically analyze what transpired in the last general election. Yes, we are hurt as party members, and many members and different voices have been saying many things, but I believe that it would be reckless of us to use terms loosely and lay blame where it may be misplaced. I believe that an independent professional body must conduct a good analysis of what transpired scientifically, coupled with, so that will form the data, which is very, very important, by which we can measure our results scientifically, coupled with, of course, the natural expressions of the members of the party in terms of how they connect and how they feel a part of the organization, which would have played a significant role as well. I cannot say if it was deliberate. This is a talk that has been bandied about, but I can't believe that anyone wouldn't really enjoy deliberately becoming in opposition where hundreds of thousands of jobs would be lost. And it will really impact on the entire membership of your party. I think to think that would really be a slap in the face to all of us. So I cannot see, while I've heard the sentiment being expressed, I think that that is going down a very dangerous road. We need to measure the facts scientifically. A lot of some of the expressions are really coming out of emotion, but we must be responsible. We must remain respectful, and we must not encourage banter that will not redound to the benefit of the further growth and success of our party.
Well,
In my humble view.
Well, somebody say Mr. Wayne Gibson is asking a question to ask you, what made people stay home and not vote?
Sorry?
He's asking the question, what made people stay home and not vote?
Well, I'm saying that this is what we have to analyze now. It can be the whole discourse of persons really expressing that their displeasure with the leadership of the party, the leadership of the government. And this is what I'm saying, that we have to really analyze scientifically. We have to get into the communities, and when I'm saying that, I mean that it must be commissioned. An independent body must be commissioned with finding the facts. We must go on a fact finding, and I don't like to use the word post-mortem, because you perform post-mortems on something that has already been dead, and our party is far from that. We are alive and well. But an analysis must take place. But as party members, we must confess that there were mistakes along the way. There are decisions that were taken that members feel were not in our best interests. There are situations that we believe was not handled with the greatest of care and were not handled in the traditional ways that we know how. And so we talk about the ground not being felt. Well, I guess the ground made a very, very significant finger, the withholding of the finger, to tell that very story of not accepting what has been happening within the government and by extension the party. But I dare say that this is just me as an ordinary member speaking. It is devoid of any scientific analysis, and I believe that this must be done as part of the rebuilding process. If we are to really find ourselves back on track, we cannot just go on the basis of old talk and emotions, right? But and undoubtedly, a lot of the sentiments being expressed by our members and the very ground must be taken on board, but it must be measured in terms of to what extent did this impact on that, as the case may be.
And final question. We can't take no more questions after this. This is it. And the question is, if after three-party analysts and members' feedback, you do indeed find that individuals were instrumental as Assistant General Sec, do you think they should be sanctioned or expelled? Let me read it again. If after three-party analysts and members' feedback, you do indeed find that these individuals were instrumental as Assistant General Secretary, do you think that they should be sanctioned or expelled? So that would be leading up from a question that would have been asked in terms of people being instrumental in undermining the party, basically.
Okay. Well, that will not be a question for simply me as the Assistant General Secretary. In our party, we have something called a disciplinary committee, where instances of that requires disciplinary measures will be brought before the committee, where all the facts can be presented, and thereafter the committee will make its recommendation, present it to the central executive, and then a decision will be made. So I'm saying that that will not be a responsibility or a role for me per se, but it is clearly outlined in the Constitution how disciplinary matters are dealt with. However, I must say that in this, we have found ourselves at this juncture. And if we are really serious of transforming this party, all hands need to be on deck, and we cannot continue to spew hate and old talk at each other. At the end of the day, the party's image is being affected. And as members, we need to be responsible in our discourse. As members, we are the propagandists of the party. So if we are in a period where some 100,000 members have chosen to withhold their vote and express in a very telling way their displeasure with how things have been going within our party, we have to be careful about the things that we say and we put into the space and the atmosphere. We, at a time that where we need healing, we need forgiveness, while we must not be blinded by those who have their own personal agendas, but I'm saying that we must allow this process of healing and forgiveness and rebuilding to take its course. And I believe that, with social media, it has given everyone a voice, a public voice. And I guess we are free to express ourselves and our opinions publicly, but we must be responsible. Because if we are saying that we are to present ourselves as once again being a credible team who can form a government, then I dare say there are some discussions that must not be in the public. As a young politician having served in the city, I remember we would have our caucuses behind closed doors. We can agree to disagree. You vent, you bring it, but when we walk out of that room, there's something called collective responsibility, and each member, we hold to that. Even if you personally would have not been in agreement, at the end of the debate or the discussion, there's something called collective responsibility, and we must be responsible custodians and propagandists of our party. And to do otherwise would suggest that we are not ready to rebuild. We are not ready to transform. We are not ready to take this party forward to its rightful place. Because I dare say the country needs the People's National Movement. We have a rich legacy of which we should all be proud. There are many success stories. The true development of our Twin Island Republic, one cannot deny its policies and programs were in fact instituted by the policies of the PNM. And we cannot be appearing to adopt the traditions of others opposed to us. We are held to a higher standard because in the past, we've conducted ourselves in a particular way. We are not perfect by any means. We are different human beings with different ideals and aspirations. But if we have come together as a common unit, as a common goal, with a common goal, and we go back to the aims and objectives and ideals of the constitution of our party, then I believe that there is hope and we will achieve our goal of reclaiming the seat of governance in Trinidad and Tobago.
Well, any final words? Because the people in the chat room seems, well, one or two of them kind of realize like you're talking, they try to be politically correct.
Well, what is being politically correct? We have to be responsible.
Well, we waited to hear what they're saying. Well, some of them agree and they do like what they're hearing. and they're saying that they will be voting. They're coming out. They're going to be voting, and but your final words before we wrap up.
Well, thank you very much, and I must thank you for allowing this platform for independent candidates to have a space to face the public and to share their vision and what they will be bringing to the party. I want to encourage members of the audience that there is hope. The mere fact that so many of us have decided that in this critical and difficult time, we are willing to step forward and contribute to the further growth and development and success of our party in a manner that reflects the true ideals of the party is one that must be commended, and we must continue to support each other. It will take all hands on deck. No one person will have all the answers, but we have to foster that unity, that teamwork. We have to work with our leaders and develop that camaraderie and have buy-in. And members, you must continue to hold the leadership accountable. And I know that this ensuing term would be a difficult one. You would be expecting officers to go way beyond the call of duty. I am saying that I, for one, am committed to the task. And I am willing to dig in the trenches. I am also willing to accept constructive criticism. For no one individual possess all the answers. It will take a team effort. And on Sunday, the 22nd of June, I ask you to lend me your vote. Lend me your vote. It is very critical that we elect an executive that reflects the restoration that we so believe that we need. And I believe that your vote will not be misplaced by voting for Malika Blair as your next Assistant General Secretary.
Well, we want to thank you, Ms. Malika Blair, and we wish you all the best on Sunday. Well, it's Sunday. Sunday,
Yeah.
Sunday at the polls, and people will be coming out and voting. So, best of luck, and a lot of people are giving thumbs up. They're clapping. They're saying competent. Yes, competent. You see plenty of them now still come out and make all the time we had the opportunity to make thing. They're now coming out to make the to say, well, okay, what it is they want to see. But we will be, so thanks again, and we will be having a number of them. So let me tell you, we are going to be having tomorrow. We are going to be having some more interviews, and also on Friday we do have a lineup of interviews on Friday, and they'll be a little more shorter this time. And so it's Nyron Bain, Hillary Bernard, and we do have Miss Paula Gopi Schoon. So, and also we have Sean Dubé. So it's going to be 4 persons on Friday, and tomorrow we have some interviews tomorrow. But we're not going to tell you who's going to be here tomorrow. You have to be here to watch. And those persons who say that the independents are not coming forward and they don't have what it takes to be part of an executive, think again. They are going to be your choice for this election. People, it was nice. We got to wrap up. We got to go. We do want to thank everybody. We do have a bio. We're going to put it up. And I think right after this program is completed, we are going to run an a rerun of the of a program, and you are going to be here and see what is happening. This is the official election station, Bounce Up Central Media Network, and we are bringing it to you live right here until the convention. See you all. Have a productive day. Remember, yesterday was the director's birthday. Today is my birthday, but my throat is still dry. My pocket is still empty, and I have not seen anybody say nothing. But see you all on tomorrow, right here, back at Bounce Up. Have a productive night. Director, you can take us out.
Oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na, oh na 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 na. You've got to sow on your own, sow on your own, sow on your own. No, you've got to seek out the sky, yeah, seek out the sky, oh, seek out the sky. Well then you've got to see for yourself now, see for yourself now, wow, wow, wow. See for yourself if you want to learn how to. I said learn. Wings don't get strong, no, 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 until they're tested. And you still don't know, you don't know what your best is. Bye, bye, bye. You can't touch your dreams now if you don't take flight. Can you hear me now? Sometimes in this la 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 life you've got to fight, 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 fight for what's right. Come on and sow on your own, sow on your own, sow on your own. No, you've got to seek out the sky, yeah. Seek out the sky, oh, 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 yeah. Seek out the sky. Well then you've got to see for yourself now, see for yourself now, oh, oh, oh. See for yourself if you want to, if you want to, you want to.